For many months, the biggest and most powerful telescopes in the world were quietly pointing toward the same exact spot in deep space. And the scientists working on them were told to keep it a complete secret. No one could talk about it, not even to their families. Only a few people in the world knew the real reason for this strange attention, and one of them was Elon Musk. One night, he was called to a hidden meeting inside a secret room under SpaceX headquarters in California, a place so private that most of his own engineers had never seen it. When he walked in, the lights were dim, and in the center of the room was a huge glowing 3D map of the stars, with one small red dot blinking slowly, showing the location of something very important. A group of serious-looking scientists were already there, and the head scientist explained in a tense voice that from this red dot location, far beyond anything recorded in NASA's maps, between two constellations called Cygnus and Lyra, they had been receiving strange signals. At first, they thought it was just background noise from space, but soon they realized these were not random sounds. The signals had a clear pattern, like a code, almost like music with a rhythm, and that meant only one thing: they were sent by intelligent life. The scientists used a special super advanced machine called a quantum frequency decoder to read the hidden message. And when they did, they found something shocking. The signals contained exact coordinates pointing to a planet in the habitable zone of its star, a place where water could exist and life could survive. The star was older and cooler than our sun, but very stable, the perfect place for life to grow. Even more mysterious, the signal had a kind of timestamp, as if whoever sent it knew exactly when humans would receive it, meaning they had planned this contact long ago. Elon leaned forward and asked one simple question: "Have you seen it?" The lead scientist, Dr. Yelena Vostrikov, nodded and pressed a button. The star map changed to a crystal-clear image from the James Webb Space Telescope. On the screen, floating in the blackness of space, was a beautiful planet covered in deep blue oceans, wide green continents, and strange glowing shapes along its coastlines. At first, these glowing areas looked like coral reefs, but when the telescope zoomed in closer, they saw something that made everyone in the room go completely silent. The glowing patterns were in perfect shapes, giant circles, lines and symbols far too exact to be made by nature. Elon kept staring at the planet, his heart beating faster, because if those shapes were real, it meant they had just made first visual contact with an alien civilization, something humans had dreamed about for centuries but never truly believed could happen in their lifetime, and yet here it was, right in front of their eyes, glowing like a secret waiting to be told. And in that silent room deep under SpaceX headquarters, the weight of the moment pressed down on everyone so heavily that no one dared to speak for several seconds until Dr. Yelena, her voice low and slightly shaking, said, "These patterns, they change," and with a few quick taps on the console, the holographic display shifted into a time-lapse of images taken over several nights, showing that the glowing shapes on the planet's surface were not fixed, they moved, reformed, and expanded in perfect coordination, as if they were some kind of living city or massive machine operated by beings far more advanced than us. And as the shapes changed, the scientists noticed something else. They were starting to match the very same patterns found in the radio signals we had received weeks earlier, like a conversation unfolding in two languages at once, one through sound, the other through light. And this realization sent a chill through the room because it meant the senders knew we were watching, as if they were looking right back at us across the emptiness of space. Elon, still leaning forward, felt his throat go dry as he asked, "How far?" And Dr. Yelena replied, 84 light years. And in that moment, the number hit him. Even if humans left right now at the fastest speed possible, it would take thousands of years to get there. But that didn't explain why the signals and the patterns seemed so immediate, so perfectly timed, almost as if the laws of physics had bent for them. And Elon's mind began racing through possibilities, wormholes, quantum entanglement, technology far beyond human science, until one of the younger scientists, a nervous man in his early 30s, whispered something that made the entire group freeze. What if they're already here? The words hung in the air like a dark cloud, and before anyone could respond, the holographic map flickered, and for a split second, the planet's image was replaced by something none of them could explain. A close-up, impossibly detailed, as though a camera had been placed right on the surface, showing enormous structures that looked like towers made of a metallic glass, stretching into the sky, with glowing lines running up their sides like veins of light, and between these towers moved shapes, tall, slender figures with elongated limbs, their silhouettes visible only for an instant before the image snapped back to the distant planet view, leaving the entire room in stunned silence. Elon turned slowly to Dr. Yelena, his voice low. "That wasn't from the telescope, was it?" She didn't answer, just looked down at her screen, her hands shaking as she typed rapidly, and the others leaned closer to see what she was doing. After several tense seconds, she pulled up a log file showing that the mysterious close-up had not come from any Earth-based or orbital equipment. The source was unknown, logged only as external feed, and the timestamp showed it had arrived at the exact same moment the last radio transmission was received, meaning whoever had sent the signal had also sent us this image, and they had sent it directly into our secure network, bypassing every firewall and encryption protocol, which should have been impossible. "They're not just reaching out," Dr. Yelena said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "They're making contact," and as she spoke, the main display flickered again, but this time it did not show the planet. It showed a series of strange symbols glowing bright white against a black background, shifting and rearranging themselves as if forming a message, and the rhythm of the changes matched the heartbeat of everyone in the room, faster and faster, until suddenly the symbol stopped moving, holding one final shape, something that looked disturbingly like the outline of Earth itself glowing faintly in the center of the holographic screen, surrounded by a shimmering halo of strange markings that pulsed like they were alive, each one glowing brighter and dimmer in a rhythm that seemed almost like breathing. The room was so quiet that the soft hum of the electronics felt deafening, every eye fixed on the image as if looking away might cause it to vanish forever. Elon's gaze was sharp, calculating, yet somewhere deep inside, even he felt a ripple of unease. These markings didn't look random. They were deliberate, precise, and somehow familiar, like a language he had seen before but could not remember where. Dr. Yelena, her fingers trembling slightly, began enlarging one section of the pattern. And as the image zoomed in, the shapes transformed from simple glowing lines into intricate diagrams, concentric circles, intersecting arcs, and perfectly aligned dots, each connected by thin golden lines. Slowly, she overlaid this design onto a digital map of Earth, and the results made several people gasp aloud. The glowing points lined up exactly with locations humans had whispered about for centuries: the pyramids of Giza, the Nazca Lines, Stonehenge, the underwater ruins off Unaguni, the ancient city buried under Lake Titicaca, and a strange spot deep under Antarctica's ice sheet. Elon's mind flashed through every ancient legend he had ever read, myths of gods who came from the sky, stories of impossible knowledge given to early humans, and for the first time in his career, he felt the weight of something far older and more intelligent than humankind watching back. But then, among all those ancient sites, one glowing point stood out, because it wasn't ancient at all. It was SpaceX's starbase in Boca Chica, Texas. Elon's breath caught. There was no way a planet 84 light-years away could have known it existed, unless they were already watching Earth in real time. Finally, one of the linguists slammed a hand on the desk. "It's a date," he said, his voice cracking. "RTH as it looked now. Earth as seen from space on a date exactly 27 days in the future, the timestamp glowing in alien script at the corner." The continents shone with familiar city lights, but out in the vast darkness of the oceans, hundreds of perfect, evenly spaced points of light were moving in formation toward the shorelines of every major continent. The shapes were too uniform to be ships, too fast to be submarines. Whatever they were, they moved with purpose. "This is what's coming," Elon said quietly, his voice hollow. The lights moved closer in the projection, the view zooming in until their shapes began to form, tall, slender constructs glowing with the same patterns seen on the alien planet's surface. They looked like towers that could walk. The image froze, the alien countdown flashing over it in bright white. And then everything went black again. No one spoke. Somewhere in the distance, deep in the Earth's crust, there was a low, deep sound, a vibration that felt less like noise and more like a warning. Elon looked around the silent room and finally spoke the last words anyone would hear in that meeting. "They're not coming? They're already here."